Day 7 of the Stay-at-Home Photography Challenge. Today, we're going to work on a still life with a white mug and a pair of scissors. Stay tuned. All right, gang, day 7. I'm going to work with a really simple subject today. Honestly, because I've got Talk Chat tonight and I got to prep for that too, plus get a video out. So, enough of my problems. I hope all of you are staying healthy. I hope you are safe. I hope you are participating aggressively in social distancing so that this thing can be over with. But let's get to it. Still life today, but not your normal kind of still life, because why would I do anything normal? Let's do the breakdown. Sticking with the EM1 Mark III this week. Next week I'll play around with the EM5 Mark III, but for now, the new EM1 Mark III from Olympus, the 25mm f1.2 Pro lens. I have the Savage RGB light wand that you saw yesterday. I've got that back again today. I am using down on the floor the same Lowell Total Light to create some white light on the wall. Remember, this is more of a tungsten balanced light. All the other lights that are in the room that are interacting are daylight balanced. It's important to know that we do have some different color temperatures blending in together here, right? And I also brought a white Walmart reflector with me today. I'm not going to use it as a Walmart reflector. I'm actually going to use it as the base for the still life, because I realized while I was setting up that the black tablecloth that I have from yesterday just doesn't really make a particularly attractive background. So let me just get a shot in here. I'll show you what we got. So, that's what we get with the black background. It's not that exciting. And I know somebody's going to ask, how are you making the scissors stand up in the mug? So just so that you guys can see it here, I'll bring it up to the GoPro. It's just a paper towel stuck in there. There you go. We'll bring that back. We'll set that down. So I don't want the black bottom. I want to go with a white base. So down and dirty, easy to set up, easy to use. We're just going to put the white Walmart reflector on the bottom. I'm going to keep the mug pretty close to the back edge and pack that paper towel down a little bit more so the scissors stand up. I'm using the light just because it's going to give me a little bit of a color shift. And since I'm working mostly white on white here, I want to be able to kind of dress things up and put some color in that I can play with when I get into post. So we're going to go ahead, set that down there. I'm going to be doing a lot of shots through my LCD today. And the first thing I want to play with here really is both exposure and composition. So I'm going to tweak my exposures a little bit here, even to the extreme where things get really high key. Lift the camera slightly. I want to try and keep that horizon line as level as possible. Certainly we can tidy things up a little bit later, but for the most part, I want to get it right now, okay? Adjusting that color just a little bit there as it's reflecting. You can see if I bring it in too close, then I actually kind of get here. I'll do a quick close-up so you can see. I get the reflection in the cup, which, interestingly enough, here, let's try something here. If we do that, wow, look at that. So this is not what I intended to shoot, but it's kind of cool. So let's play with this. Let me put that there. And it's just, we're getting some different shapes here. Very cool. And just to give you a sense today, I'm on manual exposure. I'm still shooting at ISO 200, but you know what? I can tell you right now, I'm gonna go, actually we'll leave it at ISO 200. I thought maybe I'd change it, but I don't think I need to. I could also tweak these colors now. We can go do Joe's favorite color, blue here, okay? And let's take this over to the, we want to do greens? I'm not a green person, It's like orange I'm kind of digging. I like oranges. Oranges are fun to play with, but this one, to me now, this we need to underexpose. There we go. So we're gonna go right in there. Cool. What do we get if we go? Not sure how close I can get here. Let's see if we can get this close enough and still have it focus. We're kind of pushing the limits there. So I'm going to go a little bit more depth of field. Definitely interesting. Cool. All right. So anyway, let's go back to where we were here. I want to go back to the pink light. There we go for magenta. Bring my flippy screen out and we'll get a couple kind of the establishing shots. Oops, I got to put my background light back centered behind the mug so I've got good light. That's it. And move that out just a tad. And I do kind of like twisting the handle away from me just ever so slight because that reduces the size of it a bit. Just a tiny bit. Good. Good. And move that up to there. So now I want to try and get rid of the reflections. There we go. But just have a little bit of pink sneaking in there. Good. Change the angle and the shape of the scissors just a little bit before we move on from the mug shot. Get it? No pun intended. Mug shot, right? Okay, so here we go. Cool. Now, the next thing we're going to play with this, I am going to change the color to blue, but this is not for the benefit of the mug. This is for the benefit of the scissors. So now I'm at F4 F5. We're going to go F5. I'm going to drop my shutter speed down a little bit here because I want to overexpose slightly. Let me just do a quick test shot. Yeah, that's the ballpark. And now what I want to do is I want to play with some different angles on just the scissors. That's it. I've had a lot of people posting pictures in the Facebook group, and the work that you guys are doing is awesome. But you know what's not happening? I'm seeing a lot of you honestly being lazy with your composition. You're spending lots and lots and lots of money on full frame cameras and all those megapixels, and you're showing me your original frame, and your finished picture was a tiny, tiny piece of it. That is wasted money because you're not using all your megapixels, and it is wasted quality. Having all those megapixels and then cropping the bejesus out of your frame is counterintuitive, and honestly, it's kind of foolish. It's wasteful, and it's not helping your photography. Crop the image in camera, fill the frame, use it all. Every now and then you're gonna mess up. You're gonna crop too tight. Some of you that are beginning are gonna say, you know, but I'm just never sure until I look at it afterwards. Guess what? Get over it. Seriously, you're never gonna be sure unless you make decisions while you're looking through the viewfinder and then evaluate them later. I promise you, it's the only way to get to a point where you are confident in your composition and where you are maximizing the quality that your camera is able to deliver. That's what you spent all the money for, right? Okay, so back at it here. More changes. I'm gonna bring this light up a little higher because again, I want that background, I want it white. So right now it's behind the mug like too high, but I'm gonna be shooting up, right? I'm not shooting straight ahead. So that was the whole point. I'm playing with some different angles on these shapes here. And this is, none of this is with a macro, by the way. We're working with the 50. We're just gonna do the closest focusing distance we can. And then we are going to create some interesting angles and compositions from there. I got a little bit of that blue highlight coming on from the LED wand. If I get it just out of the edge of the frame, I can also make that highlighting a little bit more dramatic. Here we go. Good. Yeah, that's it. I like that line right there. That's cool. Good. Now, I made a comment yesterday about shooting objects out of focus. And a couple people posted in my Facebook group. They tried the out of focus stuff and didn't quite get the gist. To do an out of focus shot and to make it kind of abstract and interesting, you don't just take a picture that's blurry. You've got to get the focus to a point where you're kind of really tweaking the shapes and playing with the shapes. So what I mean by that is, again, I'm going to lower this down just a tad. And here we go. So I'm going to switch my camera over to manual focus now, but what I want to do is I want to play with shapes. Let me just check what the depth of field is. Oh yeah, okay, cool. So let's try one of these. Good. Open up almost all the way here. Good. Yeah, neat. Good. Coming even a little closer. And what I'm doing is I'm using the out of focus aspect to create kind of new, different, and unusual shapes. Awesome. Okay. So, there's no rule, but the idea is if you're going to do the out of focus stuff, you want it really, really out of focus to the point that the shapes almost become kind of alien is really what you're trying to do, right? So let's make one more set of changes here. I'm just going to change the angle on this now. Actually, two things. I lied. First one, let's go right there. We're going to change the angle a little bit. We're going to open it up. And I want to come in and actually use the edge. Go back to autofocus. I'm going to use the edge of the mug here. Change my focus spot. Good. I need a little bit more depth of field, so we're going to stop down to like 5.6, which is going to put me at pretty low shutter speed. Let's see here. And about a 20th of a second is where I'm at. No problem for the image stabilization on this camera at all. There we go. I'm letting the camera tell me like where the closest focusing point is just by tapping the button. If it won't focus, then I know I'm too close, right? That's it. Cool. All right, and again, we're just playing with some shapes. Interesting compositions. Getting some more vertical shots in again today, gang. So every now and then I do take them. Cool. Neat. Okay. So I don't know that there's anything else I'm going to be able to actually do with this here, but let's just see what we get. Again, it's all just about making interesting shapes. Cool. All right. So there you have it. We've got a pair of scissors. Don't run with them. A mug. Make sure you clean it out afterwards. 50mm lens. RGB light wand. Tungsten Lowell Total Light. Let's head to the office, see what we got. Hey gang, so here we are, we're back in the office. Before we get into everything, I want to just give all of you a reminder. If you're following along and you're trying to do these challenges, awesome. But don't make it any harder than it needs to be. Some days you're going to have more time than others. Some days you're going to be more inspired than others. Full disclosure, today I've got a busy day. I've got Tog Chat tonight. I went and did old people grocery shopping at 6 a.m. this morning. So I wanted something simple today, and that's why I picked a real simple subject, real simple object. I'm confident these are not going to be my best and or my favorite shots of the challenge. The important part is to keep all of those creative muscles alive, to keep that creative thought process alive, and to basically stick with it. That's the idea. So let's take a look at what we've got here. I've got bridge open up. I had a total of 160 frames today, so it's even a little bit light in terms of my normal numbers. And I'm just gonna scroll through here again really quick so that you guys can see everything that we did. That's what I've got it edited down to for the first pass. For my final 6, I'm just going to jump right ahead here. There they are. These are the 6 that I'm going to go ahead and do some work with. So let's go ahead, select all 6. Let's open them up in Camera Raw, and here we go. I want to make sure that I have all the files selected. And once again, my system, I've had a few people ask about this. So the idea with a system, it's simply about creating habits. My numbers are not necessarily going to be the best numbers for you, but feel free to try my numbers. Try them out, see what you think, and then make adjustments based on your taste. So for me, and remember, while I do these steps for every image that I do, when I'm working with my portraits and my beauty shots, the numbers are a little bit different. So I promise when this stuck at home thing is all done, I'll go ahead and I'll do one of these videos with some of my portrait work so that you can also see those numbers. I have no problem sharing them, but I'm exaggerating things for these abstracts because I can, right? That's the whole idea. So once again, texture, I've been starting at 15. I'm going to do my vibrance at 30. And I'm going to do my saturation at 5. That's on the basic panel. If you're in Lightroom, we're in the develop panel. That's the first slot up at the top. My sharpening, I'm going to go to 60 because I'm an Olympus user and I start at 40. Some camera brands, you start at 25 coming out of the camera. I would only suggest adding about 15, but again, flavor to taste. It's all a matter of what you like. And as a habit, I remove chromatic aberration, I enable the profile corrections. Those are my basic settings. So I'm gonna do it backwards like I did yesterday and crop first. How's that? So I'm gonna go for the first frame here. I definitely wanna do this 16:9 on this one and see what we can get. So kind of what I'm liking about this is that I can bring these lines into the corners, but see how I kind of missed here? So it's all right, I'm just gonna rotate the image ever so slight so that I have these lines leading into the corners. Now this is more of a crop than I would normally do. You guys know I try to crop and get it in camera as much as possible. Sometimes you're gonna miss, right? But it's, in fact, actually I missed there on that crop, so let's go back. There we go, that's better. So I think that's, that's where I work with. But you're not always going to get it perfect in camera, but it's a matter of making the effort. That's part of how you learn. And by the way, I want to point out, you see this yellowish kind of background that I'm getting here, which kind of doesn't fit with the rest of the vibe. Remember, I was mixing daylight balanced LEDs in the room with colored LEDs on the wand, plus the low total light in the background. That is a quartz light, hence the yellow. But we're gonna be able to get rid of that yellow super quick, super easy. I'll show you in a second. And in this one, you can see I've got yellow that's picked up on the white foam board. I've got some yellow fading in the background. We can take that out super, super simple. But the first thing we need to do in this one is we wanna level that horizon line. So we're gonna take care of that right away. This does not need to be a 16:9 crop. In fact, I'm not gonna do any cropping on this until I get into Photoshop with this. But I think what I will do is just leave that there for a minute. I'm going to do all my crops and then we're going to come back and we're going to do some processing. Same thing with this one. I don't know that I need the 16:9. I'm kind of liking the idea of this being kind of an odd shape. And the question is, do we leave the screw in or do we leave the screw out? For me, I'm going to leave the screw out, because that just makes things a little bit more curious as to what it is. This one here, so I kind of flubbed a little bit and I got part of the light in down there. Not that you can really tell what the light is, but I am curious. If I go with a square crop, yeah, you know what? That works. So this one here, I want to also give it an interesting crop with a lot of kind of negative space. In fact, let me just go back on that one more time. And we're gonna tweak that crop ever so slight. I wanna bring that right side in. Boom, just a little bit at the bottom there, good. And on this one too, this is one that I am gonna leave the mugging down here at the bottom. But what I wanna do is I want to rotate so that I'm straightening the center line of the mug a little bit more. Yeah, that'll work. Okay, so processing. Back up to the first one. Since we've been doing so much dehaze, woo, that gets pretty crazy pretty fast, right? Let's see if we can avoid the dehaze, but I am going to pull the blacks down. Yeah, now I get those really rich hot pinks and magentas. That's kind of cool. So I told you that we could get the yellow out, right? Let's do that. Go into hue, saturation, and luminance. Under saturation, take the yellow, and you notice it gets more there, so we pull that out. So what we're seeing is yellow is also not just yellow. It is orange. There's some there, so we're going to pull that out, right? Now that I've got that out, go to luminance, push it nice and bright, push the yellow nice and bright, and then boom, we took care of that. It's all gone. Now I want to go back really quick here, and I want to see what happens if I bring the shadows down just a little. There's cool texture in the wand, so I'm going to push that texture slider up, even to pick up some of the texture down the bottom here. Awesome. So right out of the box, let's do the same thing here. We're going to pull down the oranges. We're going to pull down the yellows. And see how they're starting to get blue? I'm going to pull down some of the blue, go into luminance, lighten the oranges, lighten the yellows, lighten the blues. I want this to be pretty high key. For the sake of saturation, I'm going to grab the magenta and see what it starts to do to the mug. There we go. Get a little bit more in there. What happens if I play with purple? Yeah, just a bit. Cool. And then for luminance, what if I darken that just to get a little bit more of that color in there? Good. So let's go with that. And then on the processing, bring the blacks down a little more. But overall, I'm going to lighten the image. I want to, and bring the shadows up. See how it's really blocked up here in the handle now with this processing that I've done? I'm going to bring the shadows up just to lighten it up a little bit. And that's where that's going to stay. So this one, same thing. I want to get rid of those oranges and the yellows. So we'll go into hue, saturation, and luminance. Pull down the orange. Pull down the yellows. I don't want to take the blues out, but I might make the blues a little richer, and even the magentas, make them a little richer. What do I get with purple? Ooh, yeah, look at that. So we'll juice those colors a little bit. Orange and yellow brighter, and the rest of the colors can pretty much stay as is. Let's go back to our basic panel. Is there any interesting texture? There is. There's some cool texture in those handles. So we're going to exaggerate that, and yeah, not liking the dehaze at all. Part of the reason why I grabbed the dehaze on that is because of the blue, right? Blue is always going to be impacted aggressively by the dehaze filter. It's just a matter of if it's the kind of aggressive that you want, right? Cool, so we start there. For this guy, this is my out of focus shot. Now remember, the whole out of focus thing, I'm gonna do more on this next week, but I had so many people dive into it and their results were kind of all over the place, and basically they were just creating pictures that looked like they were like a miss, okay? The whole idea with the out of focus thing is to take an object, go out of focus to the point where you're turning it into something that it's not. And it's not about being able to identify it, obviously. It's just about being able to make something that is interesting and different and kind of unusual, right? And that's what, for me, that's what I like about it. All right, this one here. And I am wondering, I haven't played around with, oh yeah, with the color temperatures at all yet. I'm curious what we'll get here if we kind of really go in an opposite direction with this. I actually love how I picked up the yellow there. The problem with that is when I come into here, and I pull down my whites and my yellows. Yeah, that's just not going to work. It went from having potential to looking really pretty bad, right? Yeah, so let's go back to where we started here with this one. I am curious what we get if we try a couple other, actually kind of liking where it starts for the daylight there. So let's begin there. This case, the dehaze is going to bring a little bit of detail in for me. I do want to really kind of push the saturation. And as much as I like the yellow in the cup, I am going to forego that yellow so that I can have the white background, because the white background is important to me, right? Cool. Dig in where that's at. And this is another one I love the kind of the flavor of this. Since we're already in the hue, saturation, and luminance, I'll pull my oranges and yellows out, lighten them like I've been doing and everything else. Darken the blue just a bit, darken the magentas, saturate that magenta just a little bit more along with the purple. And then we really need to give this some contrast. That's it. Bring the whites up a bit. And I actually really like that where that is. In fact, yeah, we'll bring the highlights down so we get good separation down here. And that's gonna stay right about there. Cool. So now let's go ahead, select all these images. We're gonna open them up into Photoshop. Okay, so for our first image, first thing I wanna do is I wanna use an adjustment tool or adjustment layer here. Sorry, I grabbed my healing brush, which is already activated, sample, and then get rid of that little piece of dirt that's there. Little piece of dirt there, take that out. Just kind of clean some things up. I'm not digging this little nib on the plastic of the wand there, so I'm gonna hide that. There's a little piece of it there. And then the other thing I'm noticing is some of the color, how soft is my brush here? It's fairly soft. Opacity, we're gonna go to like 53. Sorry, but I'm looking around the camera to see part of my Photoshop here. I just want to get my pink color filled in a little bit better as it comes in there. That's it. And I just noticed there's another little flaw right there in the handle. That's it. Cool. And I'm okay with everything I'm seeing here. Now what I want to do is, as always, F2 for me. That's going to be my gray layer. If you don't know how I did that or why I did that or what the heck I'm talking about, you're coming into the challenge a little bit late. Check out some of the previous videos and you'll see why I do this gradient vignetting kind of dodge and burn technique to just really kind of control some of the focus and attention in these shots. There we go. I'm gonna do some localized stuff a little bit more. That's it. Burn that down and boom. That one is done. Next up, my still life of sorts here. And you know what I want to do? I want to cheat because I can. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this a horizontal image, even though it's already vertical. So let me just reduce that down a little bit here. And I've got my crop tool set at 16:9. And I am going to put that one right there. Awesome. Now, notice I got to do something with this background because that looks really awkward right here. Let me make it a little bit bigger so you guys can see it better. Good. It's real simple. I am going to take a rectangular marquee tool, grab right there, and I'm going to do edit, content aware scale. I'm going to hold down my shift key so it doesn't change shape, and I'm going to drag. And then I'm going to come over to this side, whoops, and I'm going to make another rectangle. I'm going to do edit, content aware scale, hold down my shift key so that it doesn't change shape, boom. And then that becomes my composition where, you know, it's kind of isolated all by itself there. So what I do want to do is put a retouch layer on here, And I'm just going to blow things up to make sure that I don't have any weird little spots or that I've missed, because there are some little imperfections on the mug. So we'll make sure we don't have any dark spots, any sloppy stuff, anything on the background. No, we're looking pretty good there. So now, all right, the next thing I want to try with this is scissors looking okay, scissors looking okay. All right, so let's get this to fit. What I'm going to do here is grab my magic wand, and I'm going to set the tolerance really low, like about 5. Let me make the image just a little smaller to look at here. Whoops, and I'm on the wrong layer. That would help. So I'm going to select everything. So that worked out pretty good. You notice I got down onto the whiteboard here, but there's a super simple, easy fix for that. So actually that worked out good. I got lucky with my tolerance there. So I'm going to pick the rectangular marquee now. I'm going to hold down the Option key so that I can remove the selection in this area, like so. Now that I've got that, come back up to the top layer here. I'm going to do an adjustment layer of curves. Why do I pick curves for this? You could do it with brightness and contrast adjustment. You could do it with levels adjustment. I think curves is easier because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this middle of the curve and I'm just going to pull it way up. Now I want you to notice what happens, right? Like nothing. So let's go back to the middle. Watch as I pull it up. Nothing happens. So what's that all about? Simple. Now I'm going to go up to, let's see, where is it? Filter. And I'm going to do blur, Gaussian blur. And I want you to watch, let me set this at 0. Watch the edges. It'll probably be easiest to see it on the scissors here. So if you look at the scissors more than any place else, watch what happens as I start to blur this layer. See how it gets kind of dreamy? It gets to a point where it's also too extreme. But I'm going to kind of soften those edges with that little blur. So let's bring that back there. Do OK. Make that a little smaller. And that is going to be my shot. You know, the more I'm looking at this, though, I am struggling a little bit with the contrast. I think I might have made it a little too contrasty before. So I really want it to be soft and subtle. So I'm going to go right there. Next up, so this one's definitely got some imperfections on the scissors and the handle. So we're gonna take those out first. Clean that stuff up. Remember, it's all about detail, gang, right? It's all about detail. And especially since these are abstracts, nothing has to be completely real or accurate. Don't let yourself get stuck in reality, because sometimes reality is boring. It's just dull, right? Oops, that didn't work too well. Let's go to history, take that out. So the one thing I am going to remove from here, I'm going to remove the seam just to make this even smoother and more interesting. That's it. I'm going to take that seam out the whole way up. That goes cool. And then down here on the outside, we have the seam. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm working with my healing brush. The hardness is set at 100. This is one of the rare times where you want 100 in Photoshop. You want it hard. That way you're going to get better lines. It's going to be easier to deal with everything that you're dealing with. If you have it soft, it samples from too wide an area outside your brush, and then you just wind up bringing in all kind of crazy detail. Get rid of that little nub on the end there. Soften up that as long as I'm being picky. However, that was really poorly done. So let's try it with the healing brush instead. Cool. All right, so that is pretty much where I want it. I think I will go ahead, put my gray adjustment layer on. I'm going to darken this bottom corner a tad, again, just to keep the energy flowing upwards. That's the goal, okay? Next one up, done. This one really doesn't doesn't need anything. However, what I might actually try and do, one more thing here, since I showed you guys that little trick with getting the background lighter and kind of making it glow, let's select some of this here. I've got my tolerance really low. That's why I'm kind of going through and doing it via multiple clicks instead of being lazy and, you know, trying to do it all at once. This time I'll do the adjustment layer with brightness, and I'm just going to brighten that up. Now see how the edges got really sharp and ugly, right? So this is where you go filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and there we go. We can even go a little crazier. Yeah, softer the better for me. I like that. So that's where that one stays. And let's see, next up. So this one is also going to have some imperfections to clean up. Take care of all that. Good. Make this a little bit bigger so I can see everything easily. Good. By removing the seams, it also helps further the kind of unusualness of it. Obviously, I mean, any way it goes, these are scissors. They look like scissors. We're not fooling anybody that they're scissors. That's okay, but we can kind of make things a little bit more interesting by removing certain details. Because I'm interested in something that is going to look different, unusual, not normal, that's just really going to kind of stand out in a big way here. So let's just take a peek. Yeah, so I'm kind of cool where that is. I will say that I do like the blue on the mug, but there's not enough of it. So I'm going to put a layer in there. I'm going to go ahead and in my palette pick a blue, right? And I'm going to go to a brush. I'm going to set the blend mode to darken and set the opacity at like 9. And is that brush soft? Hopefully it is. Okay. So then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to paint blue over the mug. Let's get a little bit more color in there, right? And then we need to go in a little smaller. Get some blue in the back here. I'm not trying to make it a blue mug. I'm just trying to get some blue influence on it. Good. So first thing I want to do is blur that. Good, so we take care of that. And then we can play with the opacity a little bit. And we'll probably work like right in there. Awesome. And this is another one for me. So what I'm going to do for this shot, I want to make this shot square. And I'm going to do that. I'm going to pick a 1-to-1 here. And literally, there we go. I just, there's something about having that kind of slightly awkward composition that I actually really like. So let me just bring that slightly off-white. Whoop, hold down the shift key. There we go, bring that over. Good, and then the question here is, do I want to make it totally white? Let's see here. Hold down my option key and just draw the cut back in right there. And then, let's see, so I told you you can do it with brightness, levels, curves. This time we'll do it with brightness. We're just going to lighten that. And again, do filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and we're going to soften, whoops, filter, blur, Gaussian blur. And we're going to soften those edges just a little bit, ever so slight. Too much there. Come back. Good. That'll do it. Cool. Digging that. All right, last one. So for this one, add an adjustment layer, come in here, do my healing brush to get rid of the seam. We don't see a lot of the seam, but there's a little bit of it there. There's a couple dirt specks or that on the mug. Let's take care of those. I've also got a few dirt specks on my monitor, so I'm trying to retouch things that aren't going away because they're not really in the picture. So clean your monitors frequently, right? Yeah, and this is one of those ones for me where I really like the odd and awkward composition. This is going to stay just like this, but I am going to put a dodge and burn layer on here. I am going to grab my brush, bring the opacity up to about 11, maybe about 124 or so, side, actually closer to 188, and I want to burn down that highlight ever so slight. In fact, what I'm going to do, you know what, we're going to take one other direction with this here. New layer, I'm going to pick that pink that you see there, go back to the brush and make it darken, and I want to put some more color in and do it that way. So I'm going to darken it with the color so that we're really keeping the color going here, right? Good. And then, yeah, so filter, blur, Gaussian blur. We'll blur that. I overdrew it a little bit here, so we're simply going to mask it, make sure we're on black, go to a slightly harder brush, make sure that we are on normal blend mode, and we'll clean that up. There it is. Okay. So for me, that's where we're going to go with that one. All right, gang. So we've got 6 images here. Our LED one, as you can see. We've got our long horizontal pink and white cup with pink scissors still life. Then we've got the blue and dark pink handles. We've got the out of focus image that's really out of focus and we don't really know what it is. And that's the idea. We've got kind of the more close-up pop art type still life, which I kind of like that. In fact, in this one, you know, I'm curious. What happens if I take that and then do image adjustments? I never use this filter, but let's see what'll happen if we do like, well, we don't want a lot of levels. We want just a couple. If we kind of posterize it, if we can get kind of like an Andy Warhol kind of thing going on here. Yeah, not so much. All right, so forget that I even said that. But so we've got the scissors coming out of the cup, and then we've got the scissors laying on the cup. My favorite for the day, because it's really, really different, is this one right here. I'm not sure that I'll be able to use that for my cover for the video, though. So I think for the video cover for the day, my chosen shot, it's going to be this one. This one's going to be the cover. So look forward to that. And again, we are now done our Wednesday video and our Wednesday Stuck at Home Challenge. It's up to you to go try something. Thank you all for following along. Thank you for the effort that you are putting in to not only keep up with me and what I'm doing, but also to be working on this challenge and trying to improve your work. So please stay healthy, stay safe, practice social distancing. I hope to see you this evening for Talk Chat, and if not, tune in tomorrow. Check it out. But whatever you do, gang, pick up that camera and shoot something. Because your best shot, it's your next shot. Adios.